What happens when your boss doesn't just disagree with you, but walks onto national television and publicly cuts you off at the knees? Imagine being the public face of a booming empire, your name and picture attached to every success, but your hands are tied. You're the one in the press conferences, the one smiling for the cameras, the one who has to look your employees in the eye and negotiate their future. But behind the scenes, you know you're not the one with the real power. And then, in one catastrophic interview, the person pulling the strings decides to show the entire world that you're nothing more than a puppet. For WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, this wasn't a hypothetical. It was a nightmare playing out live on NBC. It was the moment a quiet power struggle became a public execution. And the man holding the knife was her own boss, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. The fallout from that single interview would expose the shocking truth behind who really controls the WNBA, ignite a rebellion among its players, and threaten to burn the entire league to the ground just as it was finally reaching its golden era. This wasn't just a negotiation, it was a declaration of war. The stage for the betrayal was NBC's Today Show, a massive mainstream platform far from the niche world of sports talk radio. Adam Silver, the polished and powerful commissioner of the NBA, sat down to discuss the upcoming season. But the conversation quickly turned to the WNBA and its contentious collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Host Craig Melvin asked the question that was on every player's mind. With the league's popularity exploding, should WNBA players be getting a larger share of the revenue? Silver began with a deceptive yes, a simple word meant to sound agreeable before he delivered the killing blow. He continued, I think share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. In just a few words, he publicly dismissed the single most important demand of the WNBA Players Association. He then tried to reframe the entire debate, shifting the focus to absolute numbers and promising a vague big increase that the players deserve. On the surface, it sounded reasonable, a benevolent boss promising raises. But to anyone who understood the stakes, it was a brutal public negotiation tactic. This wasn't an accidental slip of the tongue, it was a calculated move. The players' union had made it crystal clear that their primary goal was a percentage-based revenue share, a system similar to the NBA's, where players receive roughly 50% of basketball-related income. This model would make them true partners in the league's growth. As the WNBA's value skyrocketed, so would their salaries. Silver's focus on absolute numbers was a deliberate attempt to sever that link. A big raise is still a fixed cost for the owners, a predictable expense on a spreadsheet. A percentage share, however, gives the players a stake in the unlimited upside that everyone could see coming. By saying share isn't the right way to look at it on national television, Silver was attempting to shut down the players' core argument before the real negotiations even began. It was a power move, a clear signal that the players' dream of a true partnership was dead on arrival. But the comment did more than just anger the players. It completely neutered Cathy Engelbert. As the WNBA commissioner, she is supposed to be the one leading these high-stakes negotiations. By stepping in front of her and making a definitive public statement on the most critical point of contention, Silver effectively bypassed her. He sent a clear message to the players' union. Cathy Engelbert is not the final authority. I am. It was a move that positioned her not as a leader, but as a middle manager whose authority could be revoked at any time. Silver's words hit the WNBA world like a grenade, and the players' union didn't wait for the smoke to clear before they fired back. The response from the Women's National Basketball Players Association was immediate, public, and savage. They weren't interested in issuing a polite, carefully worded press release. Instead, they took to Instagram, the modern battlefield for public opinion. The union's official account posted a clip of Silver's interview, ensuring their hundreds of thousands of followers saw the exact moment he dismissed their primary demand. The caption was a masterclass in social media warfare. It was short, sarcastic, and aimed directly at the king. Don't want to share Adam Silver NBA? The decision to personally tag Adam Silver was a stunning escalation. This wasn't an anonymous source or a disgruntled player's burner account. This was the official voice of every player in the league, publicly calling out the most powerful man in basketball. It was a declaration that the old rules of quiet, backroom negotiations were over. The league's front office scrambled to respond, issuing a statement that called the union's post incorrect and surprising. They claimed they had already offered an uncapped revenue-sharing model that is directly tied to the league's performance. This kicked off a messy public war of words, with each side accusing the other of misrepresenting the facts. But the union was ready for this. WNBA Executive Director Terry Carmichael Jackson fired back, exposing the league's offer for what she claimed it was, a deceptive trap. She stated the league's plan was nothing more than lipstick on a pig, a system that intentionally undervalues the players because it was a separate revenue-sharing plan that only includes a piece of the pie and pays the league back first. She revealed that this uncapped bonus was tied to hitting revenue targets that the league had never once managed to reach under the current deal. That public feud represented a seismic shift in how labor disputes are fought. The WNBPA was weaponizing the league's newfound popularity, a boom driven by stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, to fight their battle in the court of public opinion. They knew that for the first time in history, the world was watching, and they used that attention to reframe Silver's corporate doublespeak into a simple, powerful narrative of greed. With the players and the league now openly at war, one person was caught directly in the crossfire. And behind closed doors, you have to imagine Cathy Engelbert was absolutely losing her mind. Imagine Cathy Engelbert in her office, the Today Show clip playing on a loop on her monitor. The public humiliation must have been staggering. For years, she had been the face of the WNBA, the commissioner tasked with steering the league through its most critical period of growth. She was the one who had to sit across the negotiating table from powerful and respected player leaders like Nneka Ogwumike and Nafisa Collier. Her relationships with those players were already described as strained and icy, with the union portraying her as distant and non-collaborative. Players had already accused her of making disrespectful comments about the league's biggest star, Caitlin Clark, an allegation she denied. But the damage was done. The players already didn't trust her. Now, in a single interview, her own boss had just confirmed their worst suspicions, that she was a figurehead with no real power. He had made her look like a fool. Every promise she had ever made, every strategic move she had planned for the negotiations, was rendered meaningless. This was the moment the puppet realized the whole world could see the strings. The rage she must have felt wasn't just about being undermined, it was the fury of being publicly exposed as powerless. Silver didn't just throw her under the bus, he drove it over her, backed up, and then told the world she was never even in the driver's seat. This public neutering placed Engelbert in an impossible position, positioning her perfectly to become the scapegoat, if or when the negotiations inevitably failed. Silver, the true power broker, could remain above the fray, playing the part of the reasonable executive, while his subordinate took the heat. The players' anger, already simmering, would now be squarely directed at Engelbert, the visible symbol of a league leadership they felt was betraying them. If a lockout were to happen, the headlines would write themselves, "Engelbert fails to secure deal." The narrative would conveniently ignore the fact that the real decisions were being made a floor above her. But Engelbert's rage and frustration weren't just about feelings or office politics. They were rooted in a shocking, hidden truth about the WNBA's very structure. A truth that explains why she was always destined to be a puppet. For years, fans, and even many in the media, operated under a simple assumption: the WNBA is owned by the owners of its teams. But that assumption is dangerously wrong. The reality is a complex and convoluted ownership structure that is the hidden key to this entire conflict. The WNBA is not a single entity controlled by its team governors. Instead, ownership is fractured into a three-way split, a corporate arrangement that makes a simple negotiation almost impossible. First, the individual owners of the WNBA teams collectively own just 42% of the league. Second, the NBA itself, meaning the 30 owners of the men's teams, also owns a massive 42% stake. The final 16% is controlled by a group of outside private investors who came on board during a $75 million capital raise in 2022. Let that sink in. The WNBA's own team owners do not have a majority stake in their own league. They are, in fact, minority partners. This structure gives the NBA an incredible amount of control over every decision the WNBA makes. This isn't speculation, it's a stated fact. As Susanna Baer, the CEO of the WNBA's Atlanta Dream, has said publicly, if the WNBA owners say they want to do something and the NBA says no, the answer is no. This bizarre structure reveals the mathematical and political nightmare at the heart of the players' demands. When the WNBA calls for a 50% revenue share, they are asking for a slice of the pie that is larger than what the team owners themselves are entitled to. If 50% of the revenue goes to the players, that leaves only 50% to be divided among all three ownership groups. The WNBA owners, with their 42% stake, would receive less than half of that remainder. From a purely business perspective, it's an untenable situation where the employees would be earning a larger share of the business than their employers. This also exposes the NBA's massive conflict of interest. Publicly, the NBA presents itself as a supportive big brother, helping to foster the growth of the women's game. But as a 42% co-owner, the NBA has a fiduciary duty to maximize its own return on investment. Since player salaries are the single largest expense for any sports league, the NBA has a direct financial incentive to keep WNBA salaries as low as possible. This means Adam Silver is not a neutral mediator in this dispute. He's a representative of a massive ownership block, whose financial interests are in direct opposition to the players' demands. This hidden ownership structure is the entire game. It's the source of Engelbert's powerlessness, and the biggest roadblock to a fair deal. And now, walking straight into this corporate minefield is a rookie who is generating more money than anyone thought possible. While the executives and union reps fought in boardrooms and on social media, a phenomenon was unfolding on the court that changed the financial reality of the entire league overnight. That phenomenon was Caitlin Clark. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just a catchy marketing phrase, it's an economic earthquake, and the data is staggering. Her arrival single-handedly invalidated every financial model and projection the WNBA had ever operated under. Let's look at the numbers. In 2024, WNBA games averaged 1.32 million viewers across its broadcast partners, nearly triple the previous season's average of 462,000. The 14 most-watched games of the entire season all had one thing in common. They featured Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Her playoff debut, even competing against a packed NFL Sunday, drew a record 2.54 million viewers. Attendance skyrocketed, with arenas across the league operating at 94% capacity, a 17% jump from the year before. When the Fever played in Washington, D.C., more than 20,000 fans packed the arena, the highest attendance for a WNBA game since the 2007 finals. The financial impact is even more mind-blowing. One Indiana University finance professor who specializes in valuation estimated that Caitlin Clark was directly responsible for 26.5% of the entire WNBA's revenue in 2024, including ticket sales, merchandise, and television deals. Merchandise sales across the league jumped by 236% year-over-year, with Clark's jersey becoming the top seller. Her economic impact on the city of Indianapolis alone was estimated to be more than $36 million for the year. All of this while she was earning a rookie salary of just $76,535. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's an economic event. She is the living, breathing proof that the business of women's basketball is exploding. Her arrival provides the players' union with the ultimate piece of leverage. They can now walk into negotiations, point to the sold-out arenas and record-breaking TV ratings, and make an undeniable case. Your entire business model is obsolete. The money is here, now. Our compensation must reflect this new reality, not the outdated one you're clinging to. With numbers like these, the player's case seems undeniable. But Adam Silver and the owners have a secret weapon, a terrifying piece of data that shows just how fragile this whole thing might be. For all the incredible momentum the WNBA built during the 2024 season, the league was given a brutal reality check in the form of a minor injury. When Caitlin Clark was sidelined for 6 games with a left quad strain, the league got its first glimpse of what life looked like without its supernova star. The results were catastrophic. According to Nielsen data, the viewership for nationally televised WNBA games was cut in half. The league's ratings plummeted by a staggering 55%, dropping from a healthy average of 1.8 million viewers per game with Clark to just under 850,000 without her. It was the owner's nightmare scenario playing out in real time, and it instantly became their most powerful weapon in the CBA negotiations. This ratings collapse provided the perfect counter-narrative to the players' argument. While the union could claim that we are all growing the league, the owners could now respond with cold, hard data. Their argument became, no, she is growing the league, and when she is not on the court, half of the audience disappears overnight. This allowed them to paint the players' demand for a long-term 50% revenue share as fiscally irresponsible. From the owner's perspective, why should they commit to giving a massive percentage of all revenue to over 180 players, when the data clearly shows that a huge chunk of that revenue is dangerously dependent on the health and availability of just one of them? It's too risky. This data provided Adam Silver with the perfect justification for his absolute numbers argument from the Today Show. He could now frame his position not as greed, but as prudent business management. A fixed, big salary increase could be presented as a responsible way to reward the players for the current boom, while a permanent high-percentage revenue share could be spun as a reckless gamble that ignores the demonstrated volatility of the league's new audience. He could argue he was protecting the league's long-term sustainability against the risk of the bubble bursting if Clark were to suffer a major injury or decide to retire early. This is the heart of the standoff. The players have the evidence of the boom, but the owners have the proof of the bust. And this fundamental disagreement is playing out in the insulting offers being slid across the negotiating table. The chasm between the two sides isn't just about a few percentage points, it's about two fundamentally different visions for the future of the league. On one side, the players are demanding a true partnership. They want a system, like the NBA's, where their salaries are directly tied to a percentage of all basketball-related income. This would make their financial futures inseparable from the league's success. On the other side, the league has made an offer that is an illusion of generosity. They've proposed significant fixed salary increases, with reports of a new supermax salary near $850,000 and a veteran minimum around $300,000. To the public, these numbers sound fantastic, a massive jump from the current pay scale. The offer also includes a revenue-sharing component, but this is where the deception lies. The league's proposed share is not a true share at all. It's a separate bonus pool that only gets paid out if the league hits certain cumulative revenue targets that have never been met in the history of the current agreement. To make matters worse, that bonus pool is calculated only from league office revenue, not the total revenue generated by the teams themselves. This is why the WNBPA has publicly blasted the offer as bad math and a system designed to intentionally undervalue the players. The league's proposal is a PR masterstroke, designed to make them look generous while ensuring they maintain total financial control. A headline about an $850,000 supermax makes it seem like the players are being unreasonable for rejecting it, but it's a fixed cost. Amotking the owners know exactly what their maximum labor expense will be for the life of the deal. Under a true revenue share, if the league's revenue doubles in the next few years, a very real possibility, player salaries would also double. Under the league's current offer, if revenue doubles, player salaries would stay the same, and all of that extra profit would go directly into the pockets of the owners. The offer is designed to permanently cap the players' earning potential while leaving the owners' potential for profit completely unlimited. It's a proposal that treats the players as employees to be managed, not partners to be empowered. The two sides aren't just miles apart, they're playing two different games with two different rule books, and the clock is ticking down to a terrifyingly fitting deadline. The current collective bargaining agreement is set to expire on October 31st. If no deal is reached, the WNBA faces the first major work stoppage in its history, either a lockout initiated by the owners or a strike called by the players. The stakes have never been higher. What if the league is in the middle of a cultural and financial explosion, but a work stoppage could kill that momentum instantly? Sponsors could pull out, television networks could quietly shift their focus elsewhere, and the millions of new casual fans brought in by the Caitlin Clark phenomenon could simply move on. The entire golden era could be squandered before it truly begins. Here we stand with all the forces in a high-stakes standoff. The WNBA, empowered by an unprecedented boom, is demanding a revolutionary partnership. Adam Silver and the NBA owners, armed with data showing the boom's fragility and protected by a convoluted ownership structure, are holding firm to maintain absolute financial control. And Cathy Engelbert is trapped in the middle of a power struggle she cannot win. The great irony is that the very success that gave the players the power to fight for their future could be destroyed by the fight itself. Will this battle for control forge a stronger, more equitable league? Or will the WNBA's golden era end in a self-inflicted nightmare on Halloween, proving that the biggest threat to the league wasn't money or ratings, but the egos in the boardroom?